What is up, guys? It is your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be looking at GH's Clockwerk. This is currently one of the best position 4s of the meta right now. We're seeing a lot of pros pick it, and I think it's particularly good in pubs. So what I'm going to be doing here today is giving you guys the steps that you need to take as Clockwerk in order to stomp your games. I think this hero has a few main strengths that people don't abuse properly, and if you do and copy exactly what I tell you to, through GH's gameplay here today, you're gonna stomp your matches. So make sure if you do want to win your next 8 matches and have a completely green bar to smash the like button. You want to make sure that like button is absolutely broken. And also, speaking of broken, if you want to become broken, click the link down below, sign up to the GameLeap website, and watch the full-length coaching sessions that I'll be posting over there. Sure, you might be saying Speed, but that's like 50 minutes. Yes, it is. But if you're trying to make it to the next rank and you're not here to make excuses, you're going to click the link down below, sign up, give it a shot, and you can even get a discount on your first month if you use the code. Alright, so getting right into it, let's quickly look at the lane he's going to be in. It's a Undying Morphling lane, one of the stronger lanes in Dota. The reason is because Undying can protect the Morphling very well. Morphling, as a hero, fundamentally needs someone to protect them early on, so Undying is great at that. Not only is he probably one of the best, if not the best, level 1 trader in Dota, he is also able to heal Morphling, which is particularly effective on low HP heroes. But Clockwerk Veno is arguably one of the better counters to Undying. You might be asking Speed why. It's because Clockwerk is one of the only strength melee heroes that can contest an Undying, and that's simply because Battery Assault does so much damage, and it prevents the Undying from kiting out, and it prevents the Undying from auto-attacking and casting spells properly. So really, this Clockwerk Veno is also one of the strongest lanes in Dota. So if you want a strong lane, Clockwerk Veno is fantastic. Ranged hero plus Clockwerk is generally just a good combo. There's Bat Rider Clockwerk, Pugna Clockwerk, Nature's Prophet Clockwerk, Witch Doctor Clockwerk, Wind Ranger Clockwerk. All of these lanes are brutally good, and you're going to see exactly why that is in today's video. So, getting to starting items, he's building stats. You can clearly tell that he knows his job is to protect the Veno. He needs the front line so that the Veno can deal a lot of damage, because Veno does damage. The problem with Veno is that he can die. And so, he buys 3 branches, a Fairy Fire, a Circlet, and 6 Tangos. Now, getting to this rune trade, it's very important to see how he approaches it. What you're trying to do as Clockwerk 9 times out of 10 throughout the entire course of the game is find some sort of way in which you can close the gap before they can react to you. And so how does he do that here? Well, he kind of angles himself towards the rune. He's saying like, oh, I'm going to go for the rune. He's making it seem like he's just going to contest the rune, right? But then all of a sudden, after stopping and trying to avoid a 2-man decay, he's going to close the gap on the Undying. And that's exactly how you want to play it, right? Wait for the enemy to go for the rune, turn on your Battery Assault, and look to trade, especially if you have these items. It's going to be very, very efficient, and you can see the amount of damage they actually end up dealing here. He does have to kite out, as I said. Morphling Undying is ridiculously hard to trade into, just because Morphling stands behind Undying and hits you for like 70 damage. The next thing that I really love that GH does is he trades without aggroing the creeps, and whenever you're playing Clockwerk, this is one of the best things you can do. Generally, just finding people away from the creep waves is your goal, right? Because Battery Assault will just do so much damage. So look how he does this. He's going to approach from the side here, and he's waiting for the Undying to come out, right? Once Undying steps about here, that's when he can go for a Battery Assault and look to trade, because also the Veno can help them, right? So that's optimal. He wants the Undying to overextend. He doesn't want to chase, he wants the Undying to chase. Also, he could trade with the support if he caught them in the trees or on the side here. And you can see that he does that, right? Auto attacks and moves to the left, right? A lot of the time when people cast Battery Assault, they run into the creep wave, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm casting Battery Assault, I need to chase them. The problem with that is you're going to end up tanking a full creep wave, and so will your Battery Assault, and you lose all the value. So you can see, every time he clips the Undying with a Battery Assault, he actually moves backwards, continuing to bait him in, which actually allows the Veno to deal a bunch of damage, and he can connect on a bunch of Battery Assaults. And really, the whole idea of the laning stage is kind of just a rinse-repeat of this. He does also buy a stick, guys, and I'm going to talk about items throughout the entirety of the video, but really the key to Clockwerk is understanding that you need a couple of things. You need survivability, mana, and movement speed. And survivability can also be HP regen, right? You can equate those things together. So when you buy a stick, it gives you some survivability, HP, and mana, right? Those 3 things combined. And so it's kind of just a perfect item, especially against Undying, a hero that casts so many spells in lane. You definitely want a stick early on. It's also quite effective when you are losing HP already, right? When he reduces your HP, it makes the stick slightly more effective because when you gain back the strength, you actually gain more HP than you had. And now you can see he continues to come around from the left side of the trees. You can also approach from the right side against certain heroes, but usually you're just going to be sticking around the tree line and constantly trying to approach from out of vision. If you do this, he'll be able to actually use the majority of the battery assault, which he does here, using the cogs to actually push away the Morphling, separate the Undying, and nearly get the kill. It's really close, does end up getting it, and now the Veno is in a really good spot to actually continue to snowball the lane, right? And this is all you need to do, because this lane only gets easier. Undying only becomes weaker. Undying does have a slight level 3 spike with the level 2 Soul Rip, but so does Veno, and Clockwerk has like the hardest level 3 spike in the game, which you'll be seeing in a moment. Also, this plays ridiculously heads up. This is something that just you kind of have to learn through intuition, but here's my kind of explanation of it. You see how many creeps there are? This means you should cogs them in. Even though he has no Q. Most people wouldn't bother cogsing here because they only cogs if they have a Q going, right? But this is actually kind of the exception. There's such a large creep wave here that GH understands if I cog them into it, even without my Q, there's so many creeps that there's just no way they can trade, right? And the Undying just has to disengage and therefore loses about 1/3 of his health. The next thing Clockwerk is particularly good at is diving towers. So here, he puts down this ward. By the way, this is a great ward. You can also put down a ward here, but often if you put down a ward too close to the small camp, it will get accidentally dewarded, just, you know, because that's kind of where people check. So he puts down this ward. It's a really good ward in general if you see a support pulling or going to pull. You can just go solo kill them. Like, if you're playing in the 2K, 3K moment bracket, it is scary. If you are good at positioning and staying out of vision, how many solo kills you can get at level 3. Like, it is brutal what you can do to position 5s. Now, in this case, he doesn't really want to go on an Undying, so instead, what does he do? Well, he's like, oh, Morphling is under tower with 1,000,000 creeps, and I'm Clockwerk. And what does I'm Clockwerk mean? Well, I'm Clockwerk means that you can put down cogs, and you can put down battery assault, and deal a bunch of damage, and not tank anything, and that's what he's doing here. He doesn't auto-attack until he's behind the wave, because when you're behind the wave like this, you won't aggro the tower unless it switches onto you, and that's what he continues to do, right? The tower aggroes onto this creep, then he starts auto-attacking, right? And it's a rinse, repeat, and it allows him to pick up a kill onto the Undying, and then they do it again 1 second later after he gets a salve from his Venomancer. They get another kill onto the Morphling, and yeah, that's just great plays. Also, the reason why he can do that is because he has a stick and raindrops. If he buys other items, he couldn't do that. And in this upcoming clip, you can really just see the pure power of Clockwerk at this point in the game. With only 1 Q, he's able to just absolutely destroy this Undying, right? The Undying went to cancel the Veno salve, which causes him to overextend. The Morphling gets scaled up, and all of a sudden, even after the waveform, because of the Veno slow, you have no problem of closing the gap. And that's why this combo is so good. Right, the Veno guarantees that your battery assault has a large amount of value, and because of that, they get another double kill. And now, the Veno is doing extremely well. He is 4th highest in net worth, even though he's gotten pressured pretty hard by an Undying, and the Morphling has 1900 net worth. Then, after stick and raindrops, what you want to buy is Clarity and Tranquil Boots. These are the most important items on Clockwerk in the entire game. If you don't spam Clarities and you don't rush Tranquil Boots, you won't be able to play your hero properly. The goal of Clockwerk is to use the fact that you have an ability on a 20-second cooldown at level 5 that can solo kill almost anyone. And if you don't play around that and allow yourself to play on a 20-second cooldown, you can't play Clockwerk right? You can't play it at a 7 or 8k level. So buy Tranquils, buy Clarities. Now here, this is just a good read from GH, and let's talk about his mindset. Why would he go mid here? Well, the entire laning stage, Batrider has been playing obscenely aggressive. Why? Because that's what Batrider does, right? It's like a Viper. If you're playing against a Viper, you're going to expect him to pressure your mid laner, or a Kunkka, or a Lina. It's to be expected at some point or another. And because of that, what you want to do is go mid. However, let's say this enemy mid laner is an SF. Then, instead of just trying to protect his Doom, what he would do instead is wrap into the jungle, right? And that's just kind of understanding your mid matchups. You want to think about, okay, what does the enemy mid laner like to do, and then play around that. In this case, GH knows that Batrider is going to dive his Doom, so he stays out of vision. He waits for the Batrider to overextend, and then comes in when he sees the play coming. And because of that, he's able to save his Doom and pick up a kill onto the Batrider. At least you would think. And then look at this Batrider play. This was ridiculous. What? How did he deny himself with that? But yeah, realistically, he was supposed to get a kill and save his Doom. So great positioning, and that's understanding matchups. And then right after that, this is the power of having a stick, raindrops, and tranquil boots. He's able to TP bottom. Without these items, he couldn't do this. Now, he didn't even need to be bottom there. I just want to show the example of why these items are so important. And then same thing applies here, right? He gets to kill bottom, and instead of having to walk back to base because he's rushing some trash item, he can actually continue to fight. And this is how you should look at Clockwerk in the early game. You want to pick out the heroes that you can kill and run at them, right? If you can't kill the enemy mid laner, let's say it's like a Puck, then don't. Go kill the position 5 over and over again. If the only hero you can kill is the offlaner, go pick on the offlaner. Clockwerk has very specific matchups of heroes he can kill, and you want to pick on them. Like here, he sees a Jakiro, and so he's considering going on him. In this case, it does end up being a slight overextension. You know, even though Clockwerk is super good at manning up, this was a bit deep, and GH will end up going down. Now, the main thing about Clockwerk is that you're really just trying to cause havoc. Right, we talked about the low cooldowns. That's why Clockwerk is good. It's very similar to Tiny 4. Right, these heroes do a lot of damage on a low cooldown. A lot of heroes can't keep up with that tempo. So your goal is to basically out-tempo the enemy team. You're trying to make them fight when they can't afford to fight, or you're at least trying them to force rotations when they don't want to do that. Maybe they need to protect their safe laner, but you can see GH here is just running at this Undying. Does this even look like that good of a fight? Not really. It looks fairly mediocre. But still, he's going to force the offlane Pango to shift over, and he's going to stun them both with a really nice hookshot and waste a lot of time. This means that the PA is going to free farm. It means that the Morphling could get pressured. In this case, he's not. But, right, it kind of just frees up the side lanes, and that's a really good thing. In this next clip here, we're going to see a perfectly executed gank onto the Battle Rider. Every little thing he does here matters, and if you think it doesn't, well, that's the reason why you're not going to do better. So, first things first, he has a wand, a lot of movement speed, and that's key on Clockwerk. After the Tranquils, he still picks up another Windlace, because movement speed really is everything, you know, besides mana. Also, he has another neutral item that even makes him tankier, so if you do get the opportunity to take any sort of mana-based neutral item, do it, it's going to help you. Now, in this gank here, let's look at every single spell he casts. So, in this case, he reads the Battle Rider moving. This I can't really teach you, you just have to know how fast heroes move, how fast your hook goes, and he's able to land the hook shot and save the bounty rune. Following that up, he instantly turns on his Q. Most players would have picked up the bounty and then turned on the Q. He turns on the Q and then picks up the bounty. You might be saying, Speed, are you kidding me? Does that really matter? Absolutely. Anytime you gank someone, you should not cogs then turn on the Q. Ever since they've made it where the Q has no cast point, it should be the first thing you do after casting hookshot. And so because of that, he gets a Q onto the Battle Rider, then seeing that his Phoenix is going to shift over, he walks behind the Battle Rider. Now, everyone, why does he walk behind the Battle Rider here? Why doesn't he just cog the Battle Rider? It's because he can't. If Battle Rider is Fireflied, you can't cog him, he just flies through it. So instead, he pushes him backwards, right? Because you still can do that to a fire-flying Battle Rider. Why it works like that, I have absolutely no clue, but it does, right? It does. And so he pushes him back, which keeps him in the Phoenix Sunray. Then he can keep the Q on him because he is not flying over a hill. And with a Battery Assault, he picks up the kill. Beautifully done. And then you can see here the momentum never stops. Even though he kind of lacks some mana regen here, he's still going to continue to put pressure. Because if you find anyone in the open, you get kills. The reason why the Battle Rider partially dies is because there's no creeps around. That's why you also don't want to just sit around mid. You don't want to do that shenanigans where you just walk back and forth mid or walk back and forth in the lane. You want to play in the jungle, right? Because that's where Clockwerk thrives. In areas where he can close the gap without them seeing him and where there's no creeps. And that's exactly what he's doing here. Now in this fight, it is a little bit sketch. He's going to pick up a kill onto the Undying, hit the Tombstone, and continue to kite out. This is why the wand is important. It gives him enough mana to continue going. And yeah, this fight it's just bizarre. It really is a bizarre one. But you can see he kites out. And this is a quick little message for all you 4 players. Don't feel like just because you're the quote-unquote tanky 4, you have to kill yourself anytime someone's dying. I see this as a common misconception in Dota. It's just save your buddy syndrome 2.0. But, you know, just because you're a support doesn't mean you should commit suicide because one of your cores messed up. You guys get what I'm saying? Like, that's not your fault. If you do have a way of saving them, by all means, you can try, but in that case, there was no way he could save the Doom, so he keeps himself alive, and now he can make a play a second later, such as snipe a Battle Rider with the E. And now my favorite play of the entire game is right here. The fight ended, but why does he not leave? It's because once again, this is such a good area for him to fight. It's in the open, there's no creeps, and most importantly, he has wards. There's one on this high ground, one over here, so he can pick and choose when people separate. Clockwerk loves separated heroes. The main thing you should be doing on Clockwerk throughout the mid and late game is looking at the minimap and saying who is separated, and then go kill them. That's it. If you can do that for 20-30 minutes straight, you'll probably win. Now here, he sees a low HP Pangolier, he hooks in, tries to burst him, barely doesn't have enough mana for the E, which nearly actually loses him this kill, but the Phoenix is able to fly in, drop the egg, then he's able to get off the flare because of his wand, and secure the kill. And of course, it doesn't end there. Yes, you never stop. Imagine, guys, if he doesn't buy a Sage's Mask, Clarity's wand, and have a neutral item. He couldn't do this. You literally couldn't do this. It's impossible. And this is why the little things in Dota matter. Right? When people tell me like, oh, Speed, how do I get to 7k? There's got to be, you know, something crazy. No! It's really because GH understands where he has to play, who he can kill, and the items he needs to keep that going, right? What items does he need to continue his playstyle? And that allows the Doom to shift over here and secure a kill onto the Morphling, which is obviously a huge deal. So skipping ahead quite a bit here, we're at the 26-minute mark. He has an Essence Ring, really good Clockwerk item, mana and HP. Then he bought a Drums. Reason why is because this item is frankly broken. I've been saying it for a bit now. It's just such a good 4 item. It gives you mana, gives you stats, movement speed. Even the attack speed on Clockwerk is not bad. But it's just such a good aura item. Then he buys an Axe afterwards. It's just kind of a good Axe. One of those Axe that allows you to just play very fast and aggressive, and you could see how you can use it here. So how the Axe works, for anyone who doesn't know, is it refreshes all of your spells. For 8 seconds, it gives you 40% movement speed, 200 bonus attack speed, and then after the 8 seconds, you get stunned for 4 seconds, right, by yourself. And so you can see here, this is a pretty funny clip. With the help of the Essence Ring, he actually doesn't run out of mana here, but he misses his original hook shot. Pretty big fail, but he's able to pop another hook shot here, drop the flare, then hook in, which secures a nice little stun onto the Pangolier. Then you can see why he walked to the side here. Most people, what would they do? They would hook in, they would turn on their E, and then they would cog. But against a hero like Pango, main thing you want to do is prevent them from using any mobility. If you push someone back with power cogs, they can't use anything. It's technically a stun when they're getting pushed back, right? However, Battery Assault is not long enough to prevent the swashbuckles, so that's why he was trying to get off of cogs. Now he ends up getting Ice Pass, so he couldn't. Pangolier dies anyway, but that's the main thing to note. If you hook a hero like Quap, or you hook a hero like Puck, or Pango, or Morphling, you do not want to cog them. You want to walk past them and push them back. Against a hero like Undying, though, unless you want to separate him, like you want to push him into your team, you can just cog him up. It's fine. Alright, and to nearly end off the video, we'll skip more towards the end game as GH's team actually nearly throws this. But this fight is hilarious. So he ships out more Clarities. Shocking! More Clarities! Yes, because in team fights, you need to cast all of your spells all the time. You just need Clarities, otherwise you can't function. So he's gonna hook in, gets blocked by the Phoenix. You know, everybody makes mistakes. Then he goes for a Q onto the Phoenix, wanted to secure the Phoenix kill. Decides that the Morphling is a higher priority target. Makes sense, right? Shifts over here, pops his Essence Ring. Gonna go to the side, pops, you know, the E. And that's what I mean, guys. You want to use all your spells. The goal with this overclocking is that you cast all your spells, then you refresh them and cast them again. And so that's what he does here. Casts all of his spells. Was pretty wonky. Wasn't really the best spell usage in the world. But such is life. And then he actually sees that the Pangolier gets stunned by the Phoenix Egg and can follow up the stun, which is absolutely hilarious. You don't really see a Pango get stun locked by things that aren't like grip frequently. So that was a really nice play by GH. Very, very heads up. And that's the power of just having 2 hook shots. Especially considering these hook shots are 2-second stuns. It's pretty ridiculous that you can stun someone for like 6 seconds if you use the power cogs correctly as well. Alright, so this game is so funny, guys. But quick talk about items. Bought an Octarine Cord, then takes a Havoc Hammer. Just trying to build up a lot of strength. Also the 30 damage, well 48 total you get from Havoc Hammer is very good on Clockwerk. But let's quickly talk about talents before I forget about that. So, at level 10, he took 4 armor. I was a bit surprised about this, to be honest. I would usually expect people to take movement speed, but he didn't. At level 15, he takes the 24 battery assault damage. At level 20, he takes rocket flare damage. At level 25, he takes the minus 0.25 seconds battery assault interval. And yeah, I would generally recommend these exact talents. The only thing I would change if the enemy team has no physical damage or limited, I would go 15 movement speed instead of 4 armor. And yeah. Also, quick thing about the skill build, just as like a heads up, you want to max out your Q and then max out your rocket flare. That's really all you need to know. You max Q, max rocket flare, you take your hook shot when you can. That's about it. Alright, so they nearly threw. They were pushing the enemy team's base. The throne lived on like 100 health. No joke. I'm not kidding. It was much, much lower than this. It's regened up quite a bit. So, how is GH going to save this opportunity? Well, they have the glyph. The enemy team is, you know, they're playing a little bit nervous. He's going to continue to throw in rocket flares. Anytime your team is getting pushed, you want to be spamming this off cooldown to the second, right? You do not want to waste any time. Then here he finds a great hook in And look at this combo. It's really a ridiculous combo. You can see it. So he's going to pop the hook shot. Then he's going to pop the Havoc Hammer after, of course, turning on the Q, right? You hook, you turn on Q. If you don't do this, you're losing a lot of value. So you Rocket Flare, you hook, then you Q, then you Havoc Hammer in this case. Unfortunately, he gets actually stunned by the enemy Pangolier, waveformed on, lassoed, but he's really not even close to dead. He's healing up from the Octarine Core, and he has like 4,000 max HP. And because of this, he's able to completely live. Tries the hook shot, but the creep... oh, he gets griefed by the creep. But it doesn't matter, right? The enemy team is trying to ignore him, but they can't, right? They're trying to. They really are trying to. He even gets stunned by his ulti, but it's not enough. The Morphling ends up going down. And yeah, that's the power of this Clockwerk, especially once you hit level 25. You can't be ignored. It's impossible. So really, a couple things to talk about. Be as active as possible. You need to buy Clarities, you need to buy Tranquils, you need to take the neutral items that let you do so, you need a wand, you need drums, get the Sage's Mask, you need all of these items, raindrops, max your Q, and look to make plays in the jungle for most of the early game. Then mid-late game, follow the steps that I told you in terms of casting your spells, and look for people that are separated. Oh, is there a PA split pushing? Go run her. Is there a Spectre split pushing? Go run her. Your hero loves 1v1ing people. You can't trade into Battery Assault. Then mid-late game, get this Axe, try to copy the strategies that I used with the Axe. He's even hook-shotting creep waves to push them out with the help of the Havoc Hammer. Pretty cool combo there. And then when you get a lot of levels, you get your Axe, you're just going to win team fights for your team. And that is about all. So thank you guys for watching. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe and sign up to the GameLeap website. Peace. Before you leave, just want to say a quick message. If you're trying to get better at Dota or you just enjoyed that video, I know this is pretty general, and you're going to hear this quite a bit from me, but I recommend you sign up to GameLeap.com. Why? Because I put a lot of effort into the content over there, and generally the effort I do there is different from the content you're going to see here on YouTube. It is different. In fact, I usually go a lot more in depth on topics or into niche topics that help you get to the next level even faster, because on YouTube, I often have to keep it more mainstream, and that's even why I'm putting it at the end of this YouTube video. That's why this is at the end, because a lot of people just watch 5 minutes, they skip through just for like the dopamine spike. But if you are interested in actually getting better at Dota, I recommend you go to the description down below, get your discount right now by clicking the link, sign up, use the discount code that you're gonna see there, and I hope to see you there right now, so click it, and yeah, thanks for watching.